So, welcome in talk number 6 in the roadmap to innovation in surgery. We continue our journey, and today we will talk about the scientific debate and the role of scientific debate in promoting innovation in surgery. So, remember that we talked about the history of surgery, the surgical research, modeling surgical intervention, and then we talked about multidisciplinary teams and the tools used to innovation. So, are you ready to hear about how scientific debate can promote innovation? So, fasten your seatbelts and ignite your curiosity. Let us start our journey. So, imagine that we read about the history of surgery. We made the needed surgical research. We described a model of surgical intervention and we built our multidisciplinary team. Then, this multidisciplinary team developed using the tools of innovation, new techniques, and approach. So after developing these new techniques and approach, what is the next step? So the next step would be scientific debate. Now let us see why. The process of conducting scientific research starts with defining a question, and then gathering information, and then making hypothesis, testing this hypothesis, analyzing data, interpretation of data, and publish the results. These results usually generate more questions, and the process continue, the cycle continue. There are two places in this cycle where we really need scientific debate: defining the question and interpretation of data. Let me tell you why, by examples. So the first example is this paper published in BMJ about avoidable waste of research. And the conclusion of this from this paper is that an important burden of wasted research related to inadequate methods. And you know what? This could be partly avoided by inexpensive adjustments, maybe by good debate. Another paper published in JAMA analyzed 35%, analyzed randomized control trials and found that 35% of the published reanalysis led to changes in the findings or the conclusions. So there are different conclusions attained by reanalyzing the data. So this means also the story behind the data is as important as the data. So interpretation is very important. Now we need scientific debate. It will advance knowledge and it will develop the new ideas. And the most important thing for us here in this talk is that scientific debate is the way that we use to validation and verification of our methodology. If we have this validation and verification, then we are more convincing for the policy and decision makers, and we can get public trust. And our conferences can play a role in promoting scientific debate. Also, conferences can play a role in promoting innovation in surgery. Because there, in those conferences, you can get access to cutting-edge research. There are interactive sessions. You will get also exposure to scientific debate, which is real-time feedback. These conferences can also lead to breakthrough ideas published during those conferences. I have some examples from computer science and education. The first example is the International Conference on Machine Learning. A paper called The Method of Stochastic Optimization has been cited more than 80,000 times. It has introduced a new algorithm for use for training the deep learning models. Another conference on computer vision and pattern recognition, there was a paper about deep residual learning, also cited more than 50,000 times because it presented a new architecture of image recognition technology. Then comes to the very important and very famous paper, Attention is All You Need. This paper harvested about 50,000 citations. It was the paper that introduced the theory behind the large language models that later become the background for developing the ChatGPT. This is in computer science and education. How about in medicine and biology? There are also some conferences with high impact. For example, proceedings of the National Academy of Science of USA. A paper presented there, 2000, the hallmark of cancer, also cited more than 45,000 times. Another proceedings of the Royal Society, also a paper about the role of microbiome in human health and disease, has been cited also extensively. The American Society of Clinical Oncology, they have annual conference, and one of the papers compared different types of treatment of advanced melanoma, and this paper was cited also more than 3,000 times. So you see, we can do this in our conferences also. If we have a look on the highly cited papers, then we can see that they are groundbreaking research because they introduce new theories, new technologies, methodologies, which have significant implications across multiple fields. Usually, they have interdisciplinary appeal. That's to say, research that spans multiple disciplines and increase its relevance and then the citation potential. These papers are usually having strong methodological foundations. They are well conducted studies with robust methodologies offering reliable and replicable results. And those papers usually timelessness and relevance is very high because they address current hot topics or emerging fields. Look on those four causes of highly cited papers and highly cited conference abstracts, and you will find that the most important is strong methodological foundations, and it is here where we have the role of scientific debate. This is not easy in surgical conferences because the publication practice is depending on journals rather than conferences. Healthcare sector is highly regulated sector. The nature of the research they don't allow always that they come with new ideas in those conferences. And I think one of the disappointing points is the traditional conferences because surgical conferences have been conferences where surgeons show things about tips and tricks on some papers with divergent conclusions, and then at the end we need the speakers will talk about we need better studies and nothing will happen to the next year and so on. So this is leading to inadequate maybe funding, or it is a cause of inadequate funding because if we have high impact conferences, then we might also have high funding for those conferences. So these are many challenges, but they are not impossible to tackle. So it is possible to tackle these challenges. I always talk about this during the conferences and try to convince my colleagues, and they say, "Can we do this?" And I say, "Why not?" We can have conferences where you can access cutting edge research, you can have interactive sessions, you can have real time feedback. But how can we do it? The first and the most important thing is change of culture because we need to convince our colleagues that when we come to conferences, so we will hear new ideas. It is not only about tips and tricks and how I do it. We need to have more time to debate. Usually, the speakers will get time of discussion and there is no time for discussion. Or there is just 1 minute left and say 1 minute or just very quick question. There is no time to debate. There is no time to ask if this is true or not. We need also better science. And this is essential to conferences quality. Better science. This is what will lift surgery to make it a scientific discipline. To this end, we tried in the European Society of Coloproctology to encourage scientific debate during surgical conferences. In Dublin, 2022, we introduced a session about gaps in knowledge where we have gaps in knowledge presented and then research solution, suggested research solutions. In Vilnius last year, we introduced a session about artificial intelligence role in surgery. And in this session, we introduced 3 cases of challenging research problems or challenging problems in colorectal surgery And we introduce the solutions that artificial intelligence can help to tackle these challenges. This year in Thessaloniki, we will have an interactive session where the audience will be part of the method designing the future studies. All this to promote scientific debate. We try also to promote scientific debate on social media and through the open source research collaboration workshops and courses. Actually, the open source research collaboration approach is based on solid foundation, that's to say, research and building the multidisciplinary teams, and then through those multidisciplinary teams, invent technology driven solutions. And that's why, based on this model, we need the scientific debate because in those multidisciplinary teams, we need to discuss and we need to develop those technology driven solutions. Then iteration to obtain the optimal results. We have done many of those workshops and courses all over the world, and we will be happy to come to your university or hospital and talk about these issues. If you want to hear more about innovation in surgery, visit our website, Open Source Research Collaboration. And last but not least, I want you to stay tuned for the next talk, which will be about leadership in surgery. And thank you.